Hello, dear friends, I'm with you. The Corundum Meadows mod has been updated, and today we will talk about these updates. And who does not understand what kind of fashion we are talking about, I advise you to first look at the main review of this wonderful modic, click on the pop-up link and watch, and then come back to be updated. So what's new for us? First of all, it is of course a new biome and new creatures living in it. The new biome is literally translated from English as Onion Meadows, but the developer himself suggested the name Onion Meadows, and this name seems to me more appropriate. Turnip meadows are in many ways similar to all sorts of other meadows from this fashion, and, in essence, are apparently a derivative of the savanna. There is the same bright grass here as in other meadows, and there are also a lot of flowers. The water is just as beautiful turquoise blue, and from the trees there are single standing oaks and acacias. The villages of the inhabitants are also generated from acacia wood. But what distinguishes this kind of meadows from all the others are special plants that can only be found here. And this is not an onion at all, as one might think, looking at the name of the biome. In fact, there is a turnip growing here, and that is why the name Turnip Meadows seemed more appropriate to me. A turnip sticks out of the ground here and there, almost everywhere. Now let's take a closer look at this very turnip and figure out why we need it. If you look closely, it comes across two sizes, small and larger. In principle, both are food. A large turnip restores 3 bones of hunger, and a small one only 1.5. Both turnips can be converted into seeds and planted in the garden. It's just that a little more seeds come out of a big one. A turnip growing in a garden with a chance of 12% will grow into a large turnip. By the way, if you pulled out too many turnips in the meadow and decided that you had ruined the landscape, then in a squat with the right mouse button, you can always stick a turnip into the ground. A small turnip now participates in the recipe for field chowder and bird chowder, and a large one is suitable only for bird chowder. Bird soup, by the way, is a new food in fashion. It wasn't there before, and it restores as many as 8 bones of hunger, and has a huge saturation. That is, after eating it, you will not get hungry for a long time. But turnips have better uses than just food. A new pug can now spawn on Onion Meadows, which at first glance is gray and unsightly, and looks like some kind of cross between a spinel and a crocodile. But in fact, it is very useful and necessary. This pug is called a big-eared sniffer, and he loves turnips very much. It won't warm up on you if you don't strike first, but if you hit, then hold on, because he runs pretty well and fights no less well. He has 30 units of life, and after death, he drops the skin, but that's not his value. If you feed this creature with a turnip, and you need to do it with the right mouse button, with a turnip in essence, then it will be imbued with love for you, and will protect the territory from evil monsters for a few minutes. If the turnip was big, then 6 minutes, and if it was small, then 3. So it is very profitable to keep such creatures as a guard in your village. You can't tame him at all, but you can drag him on a rope or lure him with a turnip, because he will follow the turnip. It doesn't matter big or small. It is not possible to propagate sniffers yet, but it is possible to treat all the same turnips. A big turnip will restore the sniffer a little more health than a small one, but our interests in eared sniffers do not end with the protection of the territory. When these guys hunt monsters, they can sometimes lose their claws. From these claws, a needle is crafted, which participates in crafting a new helmet and a patch healer. A patch healer is actually a patch with plantain, which restores something like 5 hearts of health to you, while just ground plantain has only 1 heart. Well, we'll be back strong for a while. As you have seen, there are 2 sizes of turnips growing in vegetable gardens and meadows, large and small. And sometimes, when you collect a large turnip, it may turn out that you have touched not a turnip at all, but a new creature that disguises itself as a turnip. It is called a live turnip, and is a passive mob. It tries to escape from the player, and even more so from the furriers, because the sniffers are just hunting for live turnips. It doesn't make much sense to kill a live turnip. After death, the same ordinary turnip falls out of it. By the way, there is a 6% chance that a live turnip will grow from seeds in your garden. If you feed a live turnip with magnolia pollen, it will turn into a flowering turnip. She will have a flower like this on top, and she will drop a bud that you can eat. And he will apply the regeneration effect of the 5th level for a couple of seconds. When you are near a flowering turnip, it slowly heals you. The big-eared sniffer is not the only new defender of the territory. In addition to him, we have a new kind of golems, a mouse golem. You can find it somewhere on the plains, slumbering on such a mossy pedestal. The golem is not dangerous for you. You can jump around him as much as you want. He won't react to you the same way as the Corundum guardian. If you hit it, it will fall out as an object, and you can take it with you and take it wherever you want, for example to your village. But in order for him to become a full-fledged defender, he needs to be woken up. This is done with the help of a turnip bud, the one that fell out of a live turnip. And when this mossy golem woke up, it's better not to make him angry, because he has 100 units of life, and he will kill an uninspired player with 2 clicks. And in general, he will also guard the territory of the evil Hobbs, as well as the iron golem. By the way, you can restore your battered mouse golems with the help of all the same turnip buds. Well, I think that in fashion there is still where to apply such protection. For example, with the same Corundum guard, they are very convenient to take with you to the boss war. You will not be able to turn off the awakened golem's back. Therefore, wake up your guards wisely exactly where you need it most, so as not to rush around later with a bunch of golems on a rope all over the map. After the golem is destroyed, a statue can fall out of it, with a rare chance for a second summoning. Meadow rodents have new varieties. In particular, here is a spotted version, dark and desert sandy yellow. All of them are considered separate mobs. In principle, these are the same rodents as the usual meadow and tundra. They all have the same drop from feeding syrups. By the way, it has changed somewhat. Now it's exclusively gold items, no more garbage. However, the chance of getting this drop has changed. You may come across droplets of gold, shining slices of watermelon, golden carrots, golden meadow fruits, and golden apples. Simple and enchanted. Tundra rodents have a higher chance of getting a more valuable drop than ordinary ones, but they will also have to be fed with ice syrup, which is also not so easy to get. In general, over time, the developer plans to add even more varieties of rodents and make a point of collecting all kinds, and he also wants to add the ability to carry baby rodents in a bucket or bag. By the way, the model of small rodents has changed somewhat. The changes also affected a wonderful big beast, a fluffy bison. First of all, bald bison can now be bred, but not necessarily saddled. The cub turns out to be the size of a whole cow, but its horns are very small and not as big branched as in adult bison. To make the little buffalo grow faster, it can be fed with wheat or wheat blocks. When he grows up, he drops his baby horns. They, along with the buffalo hair, can be used to craft such a horned helmet. This helmet will add you 5 pieces of armor and has the property of resistance to dropping. You can fix it with a needle from the sniffer's claw to the anvil. And bison wool has another use. You can make such hairy carpets out of it and cover them with them, for example, some kind of forester's hut or a Viking's dwelling. Speaking of carpets, carpets can now also be made from meadow moss in this way and from those blocks in a cage. In addition, corundum doors and hatches have been added, which have explosion resistance. So we have new items to diversify the interior. I remember the last time I complained that a beautiful white fish itself cannot be caught in a bucket. But I'm sure that a lot of people had their eyes on her and were already figuring out how to drag her to their aquarium. So, to the delight of all lovers of arranging aquariums and ponds with fish at home, the developer has made a small version of the white catfish, which will spawn in the world on a par with the big one. This little catfish can be caught in a bucket, and then you can let it out. In addition, such a catfish can be removed from the caviar itself, which falls out with some chance from large fish. Caviar does not fall out of small catfish, but only the meat itself. A small white catfish can be fed kelp, and it will grow to a large size. Catfish that have been released from the bucket are called firm caviar, and are also grown with the help of kelp, are not desponited, but the ones that have fallen asleep naturally can fall asleep like octopuses. A fruit platter also appeared from the new food. It is not cheap to craft, but it restores the 4 bones of hunger, has a great satiety, but most importantly, it imposes on you the effect of all its ingredients, that is, slowness for a moment, and then strength, regeneration, absorption, and fall of a feather. All of the second level. In addition, like a frozen orange, a fruit platter can instantly extinguish you if you catch fire, so I think it will be popular with NESA researchers. All these effects work, though not for long, but it's not excessively cheater. More about the changes in fashion. Grapes can now also be converted into seeds and grown in beds, and his texture has changed somewhat. You can harvest with the right mouse button, on the same principle as a sweet forest berry. Last time, I forgot to mention another block. Fruit friend blocks. This block falls out of the fruit at the moment when it turns into a Poofy. This is a pretty enough block that even glows. True, his glow is not as strong as that of the same light from me or Jack's lamp, but still. By the way, the models of Fruity and Poofy were slightly changed, as well as small changes were made to the texture of the friend's block. When creating a world, you can now optionally disable the appearance of a particular mob. This is done not through the config file, but here, so be careful. Well, in general, that's all the main changes that are available today in the fashion of Corundum Meadows. I personally like this mod very much, and in my opinion it gets better and better with each update. I was lucky enough to talk to the author of the mod, and he complained that he somewhat lacks programming experience. It's hard for him to set up some mechanics, but in my opinion, he more than compensates for this with his good artistic taste and wonderful imagination. I persistently associate the Corundum Meadows mod with some beautiful psychedelic fairy tale in the style of Alice in Wonderland. And what do you think about this mod, my dear viewers? Be sure to write your thoughts and ideas in the comments under the video. They are read not only by me, but also by the mod developer. By the way, in this update, he was largely guided by your feedback left under the last video. So who knows, maybe in the next update, he will want to implement your idea or will be able to use some of your advice. Be sure to support the developer by downloading the mod. You will find a link to it in the description under the video. Well, don't forget to please me with a well-deserved husky, because I tried very hard. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet, and see you soon, dear friends. Bye-bye.